And welcome. It's another download from your good friends at BBC Radio 2. This is the Confessions podcast. Thank you for having the confidence to press that button. Here we go. We have another concise collection, which includes watery wedding woes, a playful primary pain, a loopy leading Labrador, and a Doggy Do-Do Dilemma. You'll notice there's a lot of dogs this week. Tonight's comes from Bertie. That's B-E-R-T-I-E, Bobby, in case you want to look over Matt's shoulder.
Yeah.
I can spell it.
By the way,
Just
if you're...
say it.
I've just noticed, if you're eating, you have to do a warning, okay? So it's a little bit of a warning if you're serving food.
Good.
Right
I like
at the
these.
moment.
Yeah,
Okay.
go on.
Having listened to the recent tale of the dog and the unsuspecting naturist on the beach, I felt a compulsion. This was, I'm not going to go into detail, but it was an unexpected welcome
We
from
don't
the
need
dog.
to go into detail. That's, yeah.
I felt a compulsion to share my canine seaside story. This tale takes us back to the early noughties in a summer break at Lulworth Cove in Dorset. The time I lived in West London, so this was a true escape to a rural idyll. Since then, and now in a different life, I have moved to Dorset, so my need for absolution has increased as I feel my responsibility to my local environment more acutely. As alluded to, I was in a different marriage back then. My wife of the time was a force of nature. We'll call her Brunhilde. And between us...
Will we?
Yes, we're calling her Brunhilde.
Right, okay.
Well, there's an umlaut on there. I don't want to mess about with Brunhilde. And between us, we had 3 dogs. Macca, Eric the Fat Springer, and Dave the Uncontrollable Jack Russell. Brunhilde's view of animal discipline was lovingly liberal. They went where they wanted, sat where they wanted, slept where they wanted, and dog training was just a fascistic controlling construction and the preserve of sociopaths.
Yeah.
I like the sound of Brunhilde. Anyway, you can imagine that life might be trying. The upshot of this for me was that every trip out with the dogs was a continuous anxiety attack in the making and a need to be constantly on the alert and ready to apologise for the next canine misdemeanour from Macca, Eric the Fat Springer Spaniel and Dave the Uncontrollable Jack Russell. So as we set out from the hotel down to the beach at Lulworth, it was with the usual level of trepidation, aware that the dogs could vanish to cause mayhem at any given moment. Unusually, probably because it was a beautiful summer's day and very busy, Brunhilde gave her consent for the dogs to be put on their leads as we walked down the steep path to the beach, and I was able to relax for a while, strolling happily, enjoying the warmth and the view. For those of you who don't know it, Lulworth Cove is it's perfectly circular inlet with just a small entrance from the open sea. It is simply stunning and enormously popular, particularly so for the recently married seeking somewhere unusual and memorable for their wedding photographs. This was true on this day.
Wow.
A glamorous couple standing in the shallows, laughing gleefully and posing to the applauding group of friends, relatives and photographers. What?
Me and Bobby were on a completely different story.
Not
now.
together, though.
The-
He's married to someone else.
what did you think?
Carry on.
Anyway,
Carry
move
on.
on.
We're with you
Story.
now.
Right.
Yeah.
The bride was happily trailing her pristine white silk dress in the sea, the handsome bridegroom, trousers rolled up to his knees, gallantly holding his wife's bouquet. I should mention at this point that Eric, one of the Fat Springer Spaniels, had recently been suffering a tummy upset, and this had been having the usual consequences. So anyway, moving on. We arrived at the beach to see the merriment ahead. Brunhilde unleashed the dogs, despite my protestations, and they hurtled off to play in the sea. To my relief, Macca and Dave ran off away from the happy couple, but Eric, looking preoccupied, dashed straight towards them and entered the sea between them. Amazingly, the couple were delighted because Eric was a handsome chap and were imploring the photographer to include him in the shots. What happened next seemed to occur in super slow-mo. An increasingly worried-looking Eric glanced my way and proceeded to, shall we say, let events take their natural course given his biological condition. And the sparkling crystal-clear water around the happy couple's feet became less crystal clear. It's the sound of waves. Fortunately, and against all probability, The couple were so intent on looking to their friends on the beach that they didn't seem to notice. So, taking my opportunity, I rushed down, grabbed Eric by the collar and got him away from them. In an effort to keep them distracted, I kept up a litany of mixed apology and congratulations whilst maintaining close eye contact with them, praying that they wouldn't look down. Today, of course, there's Photoshop and colour filters for moments such as these, like when your wedding dress is soiled by a visiting dog. But back then, there was no escaping the fact that their wedding photos would now feature happy faces, expensive outfits, and all around them, a sea of unpleasantness.
Yeah.
That's what we're calling it.
Yeah, good.
Not looking back, I scarpered with Eric in the other direction, hoping that the natural movement of the sea would clear things up fairly quickly. So obviously, so much forgiveness from so many people, particularly from the happy couple and any of the onlookers who saw what was going on. Sadly, all the dogs involved have passed away now, and in my new life I have a magnificent poodle Jack Russell Cross called Gordon, says Bertie, with unnecessary PS there at the end. So, I guess you could see it coming. There's a beautiful bridal scene, and everyone's looking fabulous and wonderful. There goes the dog with a slight tummy condition. It's going to be that one that goes straight for the bride, with the inevitable consequences. Sister Bobby, what do you say?
Well, it's really tricky because with animals, no matter how well they're behaved or trained, it's a bit like children, really. You know, they know the rules, but you can't always depend on the fact that they'll imply them. The other thing is what I love about those three dogs together running down to the beach towards that bridal scene. It must have been actually quite lovely. What I'm hoping for is that the happy couple were so happy. I mean, they didn't get cross at all, did they? They didn't get cross.
Well, they didn't notice, that's why.
Well, that's great. So basically, all in all, it was a happy day and no one noticed. So that's a good thing. And you really can't control a dog's needs,
well, you can
you?
control a dog on a lead, which is, I'm just anticipating a lot of the people's verdict coming in. Control your
Yes.
dogs,
Yeah.
Brunhilde!
But you can't really control a dog in need on a lead, even if it's on a lead. It's
Don't
in
let
need.
it out of the house. Keep it in the garden.
But
Thank
it's
you very
in
much.
a very particular need, and it's not so actually you're completely forgiven. Poor doggy.
Very wishy-washy. Anyway, Brother Matthew.
Well, I'm going to file this one under what did you expect as far as the happy couple's concerned. You're going to a beach in your bridal gear. It's going to get, stuff on it. So you have no grounds of complaint. And also, while we're on the subject of wedding photos, when did we go from just basically groom's family, snap, done. Bride's family, snap, done. Everyone together, snap, done. Bride and groom, done. And that's it. Why have wedding photos suddenly turned into a whole production? We've got to go down to the beach. We've got to get shots of me in the surf with my new bride. It's a waste of time. Everyone else is bored. Everyone else wants to get. Everyone else also hates
is
the couple
starving.
now. They go, when are we going to eat? No, we've got to have one. I've got to have this one as well. And it's a candid shot. And look at us looking away into the middle distance. No one cares. No one will ever look at those pictures, including you. So I am going to forgive because of the dog.
Here comes another drive time confession. Tonight's sent in by Andrew. Thank you very much. And this is following on from yesterday's startling dog-based confession.
Yes, these are always good.
Let's have this one from Andrew. So that's Andrew, Bobby Pryor. Please pay attention.
Who is here?
My confession starts in the summer of 1981 at the age of 13 whilst in primary school. I came from... it's not the right one.
Have we got the wrong one?
Yes.
The wrong one.
It's a different... Let me just check this one has been okay.
Wow, this could be interesting.
Yeah, there's
Not
no-
even been through the lawyers.
Yeah,
Where were
we're
you
fine.
in
It's
19?
okay. It's all right. So no dogs in this one.
Okay.
Okay. My confession starts in the summer of 1981 at the age of 13 whilst in primary school. I came from old school parents, Simon, where mum's rules were strictly adhered to, or you'll be going to bed early and not watching Starsky and Hutch. That was the threat. You got to be in on time. I didn't really take school too seriously. I was more interested in playing out on my bike or playing football. And when you're young, you lose track of time, especially when you had to be in on school nights. Well, school exam time was around the corner and revising was not on my agenda, but it was firmly on my mum's agenda. So it was a hot and sunny day, and after school I ran home to dump my school bag, and mum's moaning started as soon as I arrived. Andrew, I hope you're going upstairs to revise. I gave the excuse we'd been revising all day and the exams would be a breeze, Mum. Back off. Your face. So anyway, because that's the way we spoke in 1981.
Yeah.
After being late a few times recently, the last thing she wanted to me was be late. Be in by 8 o'clock, or there's going to be trouble. I knew she was deadly serious, but off I went anyway. I joined up with a couple of good friends. We had a good time of one bounce going on in the street, and time just drifted away, and it hit me when my two pals got called in by their parents. As I watched them rushing away, I shouted to my friend, "What's the time then?" He calls back, "It's 9:10, and I realised I was in very, very big trouble. OMG, again, as we didn't say in 81. What could I say when I got home? Panic set in, and I knew I had to have a good story. As I walked down a posh street, I saw a gentleman tending his front garden, so I bent over by his gate, and I started to wail. I started to look as though I was in agony. I held my stomach tightly. He came over and was genuinely concerned for my welfare, asking me to sit down in his kitchen. His wife came in and asked me where I lived and what my phone number was. So with a tearful voice, I gave him my mum's number. After I heard the lady telling my mum how they'd found me in the street in a terrible state and would bring me home in their car, I thought, I'm saved. But we'd have to keep this charade going for a good while I got home, because my mum could smell out a lie like the proverbial in a lift. And mums and dads can do that. They absolutely can do that. Trust me. Carefully holding me up and getting me into the elderly couple's car, I was off on my way home. They pulled up outside our home and helped me out of the car. They even put a blanket over me and guided me. That's not for cover my head. It wasn't because the press were there. Just it was just for warmth. Yeah. They guided me to our front door, where my elder sister opened the door. She gave me a look. That's what elder sisters do. Yeah. I let out more groans of pain as my mum came to help me, thanking the couple for their kindness, and they were telling my mum about all the pain and discomfort I was in. I was thinking, okay, fine, that's done, no telling off, might even get some ice cream, get tomorrow off school, happy days. Didn't work out like that. What happened was, it turned out I was such a convincing actor, my mum called out the doctor to our house, and that's when the prank was seriously backfiring. The doctor comes round some hours later. I'm getting pretty tired, to be honest, of keeping up the pretense, but to my horror, he suspected I had appendicitis, and he told my parents to take me straight over to the hospital. I remember the journey well, because I'm thinking, it's probably too late to say, actually, I'm okay, it doesn't hurt anymore. So we arrived, and I was taken straight to a ward and had the usual bottom-revealing gown put on, and the next thing I knew, a doctor was pulling on rubber gloves.
Wow.
A while later, he says, yeah, appendicitis, we're going to have to operate. This was my worst fear. What had I done? And the next thing I remember, the cold sensation, the anaesthetic, and waking up with pain where the stitches were. They had taken out my appendix. I did get to have a couple of weeks off school, and I did get the ice cream. It has taken me 35 years to speak of this crime of wasting the old couple's time, the doctor's time, and receiving an operation that I didn't require. I beg for forgiveness for this crime. I only speak now because I need to cleanse my soul. Well, occasionally we get confessions like this, because this does happen. Lots of people fake injury, they don't go to school, and occasionally it backfires. I remember we did this on the television once. Yes, I think there's the problem. If you don't tell the truth about being poorly, sometimes you end up where you really shouldn't be. Bobby Pryor, what are you saying?
I am a little bit open-mouthed by this, because first of all, I was inspired and thought I would never have had the courage to lie like that. Ever. I'd have just taken it on the chin and got into trouble. But also, stranger danger, and no one ever teach you that. You should just go straight home. That's the second thing. But the one question I have is that they diagnosed an appendicitis, even though he didn't have one.
Well, maybe he did.
Really?
Well, I don't know.
Well, that to me is the vagary, the real vagary. So, Andrew, actually, you're not forgiven, because it's not a sensible thing to do at all, and you should have gone home, so you're not forgiven, but I'm really worried about your doctors.
I think we all want to be Andrew's elder sister here, don't we? Who
with the raised eyebrow.
Yeah, rumbles him straight away as he walks through the door. I am going to forgive here, and the reason I'm going to forgive is that Andrew knows what he did was wrong. And also, he knows in this story he doesn't come out of it very well. Everyone else comes out of it okay. Everyone else is taking care of him and feeling sorry for him, but he comes out of it as a bit of a cad. So for that reason, because he's prostrate in front of the nation saying, I know what I did was wrong, then I'm going to say you're forgiven.
Kathy in sunny Devon sends in tonight's confession. That's Kathy, Bobby, C-A-T-H-Y. And Sunny, S-U-W, and so on. This is the one I was going to do yesterday, by the way. Before it turned.
You definitely checked that it's the right one this time.
Well, it could be anything.
Yeah.
There's no appendicitis in this one, I don't think. And I think there's no certificate warning or anything. And I sounded disappointed. Simon, hearing the recent dog-related confession has prompted me to make a confession on behalf of my late Labrador, Bracken, and myself. I had 2 Labradors for many years, male and female. Bosley and Bracken were the names, both entirely driven by their stomachs. As is very often the case, my children had begged for dogs with promises to do all the things that would ultimately be left entirely to me, of course. Walking, feeding, cleaning up after. Thanks, kids. We'd had Bosley from when he was 9 months old and obtained... Wasn't that the name of the guy who ran Charlie's Angels?
Yeah. Same guy.
I think it was. That's where it came from.
But not the same dog.
No, it wasn't a dog, it was a man.
No, not the same thing.
Anyway, and we obtained... Off the subject. And obtained Bracken a few years later as company for Bosley. Bracken was almost 6 when we got her, and she'd had a hard life. She was in a sorry state when we got her home. As huge and round as a barrel, with a skin condition and breath that would offend the gods. The panting caused by the weight didn't help this either. Nice picture here. With much exercise, a healthy diet and some medication for the skin condition, she became a whole new dog, although the bad breath was something that never left her. Both the toothbrush and the tube of toothpaste purchased from the vet were eaten practically whole. It also quickly became clear that Bracken was a bit like Pooh Bear, a dog of very little brain, and that she was a bit deaf. Anyway, when we'd had her for a while, she literally bounced with excitement at the slightest look in her direction. When we first got her, she was frightened of water, unheard of in a Labrador. But Jane, my best friend with very well-behaved dogs, and I were forced to persuade her to venture into a river when we were on a walk, and that involved stepping stones using our leftover packed lunch of a few soggy crisps and an apple. Once tried, she loved it, and she dived into every river, every stream, every puddle and pool that she came across. She also loved meeting people. Sheep, cows, dogs, cats, in fact, anything with a pulse. You need to know this. Jane and I are out walking on Dartmoor one Saturday morning. Over the years, we must have explored the whole of Dartmoor, and this area was one of our new discoveries. Ahead of us was a group of approximately 10 people, possibly from the local university, who were intent on studying the Dartmoor flora and fauna. They came across a pool. A vast pool of water. They surrounded it, discussing its contents, pointing, inspecting, and debating what they could see. I saw that Bracken noticed the group, and knowing her assumption that all people were instantly pleased to see her, knew that she would bound across to say hello. If I could shout her name sternly and loudly enough, and in time, she would stay with me. However, on this occasion, I'd left it too late. And she was off. She was in her element. Not only was there a group of people who were bound to want to meet her, but there was a large pool for her to splosh around in, stirring up all the mud and destroying any hope of the group being able to study its contents any further. And a bonus, the group had a small dog with them who was certain to want to be Bracken's friend. And this is where the bouncy disaster on 4 legs caused total mayhem. The group of people noticed Bracken bouncing towards them, could see her aiming for the pool, and simply watched in stunned silence as she put their nature trail to a premature end. I should have mentioned that their small dog was on one of those extending leads. None of the people appeared to want to be Bracken's friend. Surely this was a mistake. This couldn't be the case. Just to make sure, she ran around the whole group, just in case one of them extended the hand of friendship. The only one wishing to make friends was the small dog, who followed Bracken as she circled the group on his extending lead. So not only had the group had their inspection of the pool totally ruined, they now found themselves corralled inside an extending dog lead, which got tighter and tighter as the small dog followed Bracken, and they had to huddle closer and closer together. Now, I'd like to say we rushed over to help, but Jane and I did what we always did in the face of my dog causing such embarrassment. We walked on and pretended Bracken wasn't with us. She, of course, soon caught up, but we didn't look back to see how the group extricated themselves from the tangled mess, not for a while. From further up the tour, we could see that most of the group had managed to escape their imprisonment. And only 3 fell over, and just the one of them fell into the pool, so very little harm was done. Clearly, Bracken needs your forgiveness. She was only trying to make friends. Also forgiveness for my own actions in pretending to have not noticed anything was afoot, and oh my goodness, who was this strange dog that seemed to be following us? All 3 of our dogs were of similar age and all passed on to doggy heaven. Did you know that's a thing? Yeah. A couple of years ago, and we scattered all their ashes together from a favourite spot on Dartmoor. Oh, yes, apologies to the passing mountain biker who was caught in an unexpected gust of wind.
Lovely.
But we often laugh about the scrapes we got into as a result of my two hairy beasts, plus Jane's and my total lack of any sense of direction. Kathy in sunny Devon with a wonderful picture of a group of friends on a geography field trip being corralled with a big dog lead into a smaller and smaller circle. But the good news, says the Bobby, only 3 fell over and only 1 fell in the pool. Top work.
I have a foot in both camps here because I love a happy, silly dog that just wants to make friends because I think it's brilliant. You know, there are tough times in the world and there's nothing like a Labrador coming at you with a big
Or
smiley
a red
face.
setter, because they're slightly loopy.
Yeah, having said that, I do think when you've got shared spaces, you do have to be responsible for your animals. I have a dog and he's terrified of other dogs. So I do spend some of my time going, can you just call your dog off? Because I'm trying to hold mine aloft because he's terrified. So the thing
So you
is...
pick your dog up?
I have to, yeah, because he's terrified.
What kind of a dog have you got?
He's a Bedlington Cross meerkat. I know, yeah, it's
What?
just that's the best way to describe him.
He's a meerkat.
He's a cross between
Bedlington
a dog and a
Terrier
cat.
cross with a meerkat. That's what he looks like. Anyway, moving on to this story. So I said I have a foot in both camps. So I do think when you're in a shared space and you're on a shared space, you should really control your animals. However, I secretly love the story, so I'm going to forgive you anyway.
Keep your dog away from my dog because he's half a dog and half a cat.
Apparently.
And might have a go at your
You're
dog.
forgiven.
Thank you very
Kathy.
much, Brother Matthew. There.
Well, obviously, Kathy and Bracken. There's no blame here. Bracken does what Bracken does. So my problem is more, and I don't have a dog, but I have a bit of a problem with these extendable dog leads. I like to be able to see the lead. So that I know that there's a lead between the person and the dog. And the extendable dog makes it look like the dog's on its own and running around, and I'll then trip over the extendable dog because it's like this little wire, and I'll trip over that. So, and for that reason, then they had it coming to them and the dog that was on the extendable. Doesn't have something that you can pull on the lead. It should do.
It does, yeah. You can
and
see
they didn't use the thing that
The lock.
releases the hounds. So for that reason, I am going to forgive.
But an extendable dog lead is just as visible as an ordinary
No, it's
dog
not,
lead.
because the actual lead is really thin. It's like wire.
Yeah, but you can see somebody with their arm outstretched
Yeah,
on
but
the
they
other
could be
end of it.
doing anything. They could be doing anything with that arm, and who knows which dog it is? Could be any of the dogs. And how am I supposed to navigate that? Not easy. So it's all their own fault.
Novice Nigel is in the house, passing notes. What are you doing? What are you
No, I'm not.
communicating?
This is my recipe for later on, and I obviously you can tell it's in the kitchen because I spilled quite a lot of food all over it.
Yeah, but
Bobby
that
was
looks-
obviously
That looks authentic. That looks like the kind of thing you could auction for a lot of money.
Well, hey, please sign here.
Okay. So anyway, Nigel's here, and we'll say something incomprehensible very shortly.
Good. Look forward to that.
So here comes tonight's confession, which comes from Fiona. Thank you, Fiona. We're running with a theme here, so we've just done a load of cats. We're speaking to the professor about how cats can find their way home somehow. Now we're going to go with another dog on tonight's confession. Father Simon, Brother Matt, the forgiving few, the novice, and so on. I'm a proud Englishwoman, says Fiona, born and raised in Birmingham. Among many other wondrous things, it's a place as far away from the sea as it's possible to be in England. After 32 years of hard labour as a self-employed graphic designer and seemingly constantly chained to a large screened computer, I was rather tired of demanding clients arguing the toss about the use of magenta or cyan and endless explanations about how 72 DPI really does look rubbish in print. Don't you find that's true?
Oh, yeah.
It's not enough.
72 D. How many DPI would you like?
In print, at least 300, I think.
300, okay.
I go for
very good.
1,000.
Do you?
Really?
Oh yeah.
As a diversion, I was seeking a different place to park my computer. A room with a view, with hills and the sea. It seems it's every Brummie's dream to have a little place by the coast, and I was no different. I spent years trying to find the right spot when a good friend of mine announced she was selling her cottage. Knowing the area, I jumped at the chance, and so it was my sticks, the dog, the computer and I left the Midlands, and I departed up the A1 for good, along with a new life in rural East Lothian. Our new life was splendid in every way. Although I knew where most things were, I found it rather amusing programming the sat-nav, beg your pardon, to find the nearest supermarket. The dog, let's call him Colin, actually changed the name of the dog.
Did we? Really?
No, it's because the letter is signed Fiona, not my real name, and Colin the Cocker Spaniel, not his real name either.
Great.
Which seems a little bit
I wonder if
unnecessary.
he was a Cocker Spaniel. He might have been like a boxer.
No, I think he actually is a working Cocker Spaniel anyway, and he was in joyful doggy heaven. What a great place to go if you have a dog. We spent every day during August that summer discovering new beaches to play on, pure bliss. By September, we'd discovered all the beaches and now had a firm favourite. This jewel in the crown of a beach is located at the end of a long, quiet and very straight tree-lined drive. On this particular day, the weather had been overcast, Drich with a wee ha, actually, as I'm now saying. But even on dull days, the views here are quite splendid. With Colin, now acutely aware of where we were going, with a nose for a sat-nav, he was howling with excitement from the passenger seat like only a spaniel can. As I parked up and applied the parking brake, he shot out of the car door as soon as he could, eager to get going. As any conscientious dog owner, I would keep a bundle of poo bags in the car for any accidents along the footpath. As per usual, Colin did his business along the verge and I scooped up everything that I needed to, like a good citizen.
Nice.
We walked a good 3-mile loop before returning to the car park and driving the short distance home. Now, unlike some unscrupulous individuals, I always aim to act correctly and take the little parcels home to dispose of, especially as this is an area of wild beauty where no bins are provided for the disposal of bags. So clearly, everything has been done correctly so far. I had, though, previously picked up a tip from a dog-loving friend, Sue, who always hangs said bags on the towing hitch of her car so as not to taint the car interior. My car, though, being an MX-5, is bereft of such useful hooks, so I always tuck it under the outer windscreen wiper until we get home. On this particular day, I did the very same thing.
What could possibly go wrong here? This sounds foolproof. This is going to be fine, everyone. The dog stuff is going on the windscreen wiper. No problems.
What? Yes, exactly right. So let's find out what does happen. Here we go. As Colin and I drove off no one calls their dog Colin. No. As Colin and I drove off along the leafy lane bound for home, it started to rain.
Oh, who'd have thought? Oh, no.
I was taking in the views across the fine castle that we passed and was rather oblivious to a rather large car approaching on the narrow road in the opposite direction. As he grew level, I had forgotten about the bag and applied the wiper to clear the windscreen of water. And with a swift flick of the wiper blade, not only were the drops of rain removed, but the little black bag also departed the windscreen as if in slow motion, with a gentle thud, hit the front wing of the opposing car, traversing the side stripe and sliding down the side of its white, sporty and very new-looking 4x4 before plopping onto the road. It is, Father Simon, amazing how so little can go so far.
Oh, yeah.
I was mortified and froze in anticipation of what to do next, but inexplicably the driver seemed oblivious. He didn't hear the thump. He gestured with his hand, but he was thanking me for pulling over and drove on. Perhaps he was sitting so much higher than everyone else on the road that he didn't notice the new delivery. I checked the rearview mirror to spy the ruptured bag dumped on the asphalt, and I decided to engage reverse and gather the remaining contents by double bagging it from the relative safety of the driver's seat by simply opening my car door. I know I perhaps should have gone back and chased the 4x4 owner to apologise in person for the additional stripe across his new car, but frankly I didn't have the guts and simply hoped that the impending rain shower would clear any rural mess from the car. Anyway, forgiveness for soiling the man's car. I promise I will behave in a more responsible way henceforth. Well, you see, the thing is, Fiona, not real name, and Colin Cocker Spaniel, not real name in East Lothian. I think you did everything appropriately. There's a postscript. Hang on, let me just check this. I should add that on a quite separate occasion, a similar thing happened further down the road, but this time flicked onto a cyclist's front wheel, who wobbled slightly before carrying on. Anyway, I just noted that. You might not want to read this bit out.
No,
there you go.
Probably not.
No, I did. Anyway, thanks, Fiona. Let's see what we make of this, Sister Bobby. What do you think?
The thing is, it's absolutely right. I think there was no crime really committed because everything was by accident. I actually didn't know about the kind of little trick of putting it under your windscreen wiper or putting it.
Well, it's not much of a trick, is it? Really?
Well, no, the thing
Yes,
is, if you have to clear up after your dog, which I do, it's one of those things that mine goes in the boot until I get home. So, and there has been times when I borrowed my sister's car and I put it in the boot and forgotten about it. Sorry about that.
That's good. That's quite nice.
don't think I've told her.
All
this
right,
week.
okay.
So
You
I'm
just
saying,
confessed now.
So I'm just saying. So I think thanks for the tricks. Having said that was all, and you were completely forgiven. There was no real crime. When you drive your car on the road, you drive through all sorts of things. You could pick up anything on your bodywork. So I'm sure the man won't mind. It will wash off easy. But until you got to the cyclist bit, because that's really dangerous, and he could have come off his bike. And it's more to do with the fact of the danger.
Oh, there you are, being all responsible again.
Sorry about that. So
Anyway,
you were forgiven, and then you
forgiven.
weren't forgiven.
What do you make of it, novice?
Well, I quite like the idea of a cat nav. I thought that was very good.
That was yesterday's joke,
And the
really.
image, no, you just mentioned it a few minutes ago. And I know, but you just talked about it. And then flying doggy do and what have you. Maybe the driver of the 4x4 thought it was a seagull with a bowel problem. I don't think it'd be more than that. But where Fiona did go badly wrong, and it's as Bobby's just flagged up, was the fact that she did it more than once. And in Scotland, in East Lothian, you do get quite a few dreeks with that wee ha, so it's wet and foggy on a regular basis. So to do it, and with a cyclist, you might not even have had their helmet on. It could have blinded them with flying doggy do. So therefore, or skidded or anything. So on this occasion, Fiona, I'm not going to forgive you.
She finishes. It should be noted, I no longer use the wiper to secure said
Quite
poo
right.
bags, choosing to put them in the boot instead.
Yeah,
There you go.
Bobby's sister's car, yeah.
Brother Matthew.
Put them in the boot. Well, she was completely, totally responsible there, wasn't she? In my experience, people who drive white 4x4s are constantly cleaning them anyway. You can't stop them cleaning. They're always cleaning them.
Look how
massive
white
cars.
it is.
Look how high I up in the road. Doesn't that make me superior to
Is that
everyone
you
else?
down there?
No, it
So long,
doesn't.
suckers.
I'm just off to clean my car again. So,
I've got a white 4x4.
I am going to forgive because, frankly, Mr. White 4x4 is always cleaning his car anyway.
Well, they were this week's confessions. Did you forgive anyone? Nah, probably not. Can't even talk. Excuse me one second. As I have a drink. Did Joe Pasquale say? What did he say? Okay, they were this week's confessions. Very good. Thank you very much indeed for yours. Maybe your soul has been stirred. Maybe you can send us something. Confessions@bbc.co.uk. More in a week. And don't forget you can listen to all our shows from the last 30 days on the iPlayer. Justin Hayward of the Moody Blues was with us on Monday. We celebrated another Majestic Tunes Day on Tuesday. Susan Kane, the author of Quiet and Quiet Power, which is the new teen version, was in on Wednesday talking about introverts and extroverts. And if you're in between, you're an ambivert. Anyway, more with Susan. And Nigel served up pan-fried monkfish satay with shallot, chilli and cucumber salsa. Very nice indeed. The details can be found on the Radio 2 website. Head for Thursday's episode page, toggle down till you hit the recipe. And if you do get this far, you can tweet me with the words unnecessary yellow socks, just to let me know that you pursued it right to the very end.